You know you have a problem when you're working so hard and so long that one of your kids comes up to you and says, "Hey mom, hey dad, where do you live again?" Coming up on our Finding Better podcast, I've got Shawn Fry joining me. Shawn and I are going to talk about high impact leadership and his experiences in transforming low performance, broken cultures into high performance, resilient teams. And this not only applies to business, it also applies to our home life, to our social life, because let's face it, leadership is everywhere. And whether you're leading by a good example or a bad example, you're leading by example. We're going to have tons of fun. Glad you're here. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences of folks and myself who've been there and done that in doing different kinds of things in our lives that have led to better lives on our part. And this is not about academics, it's not about theories, it's not about opinions. Okay, it's about real life experiences that we've gone through that we share with you because, a lot of times the best way to success is to copy it. You've probably heard that before. And today we're going to talk about high impact leadership. Now, here's the fact of the matter. Leadership is not all about business. Leadership has to do with everybody. It has to do with you, with me, our families. Anytime we're in a situation where we're leading people or we're trying to influence people, which is every day, we're talking about leadership, right? My guest today is Shawn Fry, and he's got 25 years in high pressure leadership roles. And we're going to talk about his experience in rebuilding struggling and fractured cultures into cultures of resilience and high performance. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because it's one of those things where you go, how do you do that? How do you take a struggling culture? How do you take a fractured culture and turn it into a high performance culture and turn it into a culture of resilience and perseverance and success, right? And one of the things, Shawn, that I'm also really looking forward to talking with you about and learning from you is in this whole world of high pressure roles. How do you maintain work-life balance, right?
Mm.
And how have you done that in the past? Shawn, welcome to Finding Better. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Definitely an honor and look forward to this
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
good. Well, this is uh, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your background. Let's talk about what you mean by high impact leadership and what you mean by high pressure roles. I think
mhm.
we all know what that means, right? I spent 38 years in high tech.
Okay.
And companies like IBM, companies like Sun Microsystems, Expedia. My wife retired from Microsoft. Very, very. But anyway, this is not about me. This is not about my wife. This is about you. So a little bit about your background and what led you to where you are today.
No, great question. So yeah, so I've been in aerospace, power generation, automotive for over 25 plus years across 60 facilities, 17 different countries, and four different industries.
Whoa.
I don't
Okay.
necessarily say that out of pride or ego. It's just I've learned to fail a lot and learned to see what could succeed and what are
Yeah.
those
No. And
principles. Yeah.
and the pride and ego is there, but I sit there and go, that sucks. Yeah. I mean, and I just say that because I've kind of been there and done that. But, for
Yeah.
people who love to travel, people who love to go to different places, I just learned that about halfway through my career, I'm not one of those people.
Right.
And so, but it is exciting and that is amazing. And my hat's off to you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah. So I was working 70 to 80 hours a week, turning around a flawed business model. You talked about what's high stakes, right? What's high impact, high stress. So our business was less than 60% on time, delivering defects to the customer. And so there was just an immediate need to turn this thing around, right?
And you walked into this?
and I walked straight into it,
Oh,
right? So
good,
I
good.
love a good challenge, and so I'm just like, let's go, let's figure this
Well,
out.
I'll tell you something. There's something to say about walking into an environment that needs help
Yeah,
versus walking into an environment that is perfect, right?
yeah,
Because you walk into an environment that needs help, the only way is up. You walk into a perfect environment, the only way is down.
down. Yeah, boy, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Go for it. But yeah,
No,
so you walked into it. Yeah.
so I walked right into it, right? So I knew this is a great challenge, a great opportunity. Worked with the team, right? So I'm big on really, hey, let's talk to the people doing the work, right? Let's understand what's frustrating, what's causing the pain. And I think it starts with the customer. What's the customer need, and what's those key stakeholders and those we serve, and really just understanding those big needs, and how do we prioritize and get after the right things that's going to move the needle.
Okay.
But
Hey,
yeah,
Sean, I just want to interject. Folks, Sean just shared something that is absolutely brilliant magic. It's not only brilliant, it's brilliant magic. And
okay.
that is talk to people.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, talk to people, right? I mean, Sean, I coined a phrase that says, we've gotten so smart, we've forgotten our heart.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
folks, you know what? We live in this world of computers. We live in this world of technology where we want to hide behind a screen. And for a lot of us, it's hard to get out there and talk to people.
Yes.
Especially, it's hard to talk to people who are mad at you and are unhappy with you. I mean, we could talk about this forever.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing you did, Sean.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if there is a absolute right answer in the world in terms of what your first step was, that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
At least in my experience. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you went out
Yeah.
there, you took the boat, you took the arrows, you took the you took the stones and the bullets and all that
Yeah.
stuff from everybody, but you probably learned something, right?
Oh, tons of things, right? So the people doing the work, the people out there every day struggling, they know what good look, they know what they need to do to be successful, right? It's just enabling and giving them the right systems, processes, and tools to do it, right? And just giving
Right.
them the right help and support. Yeah, so really just working with the team to really turn the on-time delivery around, meet our customer needs, give better quality to our customers. And the team was winning in those aspects, right? But profitability, we were still struggling, right? So it was just a flawed business model. And so just, I don't know if you're, the loss leader, impact, so that the business
Yeah.
previously had taken on too many loss leaders, and it was just a very flawed business model to overcome.
Okay.
And
Yeah. So loss leaders from a product standpoint, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. Yeah, profitability. So some finance would say a profitable mix, and we just had an unprofitable mix and higher volume on those loss leaders or those products that were not making the profitability.
So
So
let me ask you a quick question
yeah,
about that. Okay.
sure.
Because we talked about communication, we talked about the customer, we talked about the teams, and a lot of people think, well, that's the job of customer support. That's the job of sales to get out there and talk to our customers. Were your product teams going out and talking to your customers?
Great question. So they grabbed my business development grabbed me and said, "Look, you're coming with us. We're going to travel across the globe, and we're going to go talk to certain
There you
customers to,
go.
to talk about, what are we going to do different, right? What is their current state? What's our future? Where are we going, and how are we going to get there, right? So they pulled me with them, and so we definitely went and talked to some very angry and upset customers.
But you know what? I mean, my hat's off to that product team.
Yeah,
And because a lot, a lot of folks out there that I've seen, especially more and more these days, because AI, all these different tools that we have, we we think we know. We think
yeah,
we know what our
yeah,
customers want. In my last role as technology, my title was Global Evangelist and Ombudsman. And that role was to get out there and to talk to people
yeah,
and understand because we found ourselves in a really, really bad place. And um, the marketing folks, When I kind of inserted myself into the process, I asked the marketing folks, so I'm going to go out there and talk to our customers. Help me understand what information you want me to get. And the director of marketing said, "What do you mean? We got all the information we need." I said, "You have all the information you need?" She says, "Yeah, we do." I said, "Well, how do you get all the information you need?" She goes, "John, we do surveys every month.
Mm.
We do surveys every month and we know our customer." And then somewhere in the conversation, she says, "I don't understand what we need you for."
Oh man.
And I went,
Oh.
and I didn't take that as an insult.
Mm.
I took it as you really don't understand,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I think I just discovered our biggest problem, and our biggest problem is us,
Yeah.
you know?
That's so
And
true.
so getting out there and part of what we did, I took the president of the company, the CEO of the company, and we went on a tour around the country talking to our customers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
boy, oh boy, I mean,
Yeah.
change just like that, just by talking to your people.
It's big. Yeah.
So
It's
what
big.
happened when you did?
Yeah, so really got to understand their pains, right? And really what do they want beyond what's on a purchase order or just like you said survey. So really get to understand, looking in that person's eyes and just feeling what they need and what they want. So brought that back to the team. We worked as a team and again, made a lot of progress. But we still, and I at the same time, I was just completely consumed with turning the business around. My health was degrading, right? So I definitely wasn't paying attention to my health, wasn't eating well, so wasn't exercising, so that definitely affects your productivity and your mental state,
You
right?
bet it does.
Yeah, and I was just completely out of balance, right? And so it all changed. One day, my son came to me, my youngest son, and he said, "Dad, where do you live?" And boy, that was just like a knife to the heart, right?
Oh, whoa.
So I was just like, wow, I am just completely out of balance. I've been completely focused on turning around this flawed business model. And I've sacrificed myself, missed the critical times with my youngest son and family and wife. And so that's when it all changed for me. And I was like, okay, I got to find a better way. I got to get myself in better balance so we can, be a better father, better husband, and a better business leader, right? So you talked about work-life balance earlier, right? So that's
Yep.
that's in the middle of it. And I see a lot of I've had a lot of different leaders, different mentors that are out of balance and went through a lot of life changes and divorces and that kind of thing. So I think that was definitely a big lesson for me is like, okay, let's turn this thing around
Yeah,
completely.
which road are you on? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I was on the wrong
seriously, right?
road. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean that your son asking you where you live. I mean, if that wasn't a wake up call, you're just not paying attention.
That was a big wake up call. Yeah. That was a
Yeah.
big,
Well, good for you.
and that was really the turning point for me as a total leader. Like you said, a leader is not just in a workforce, right? That's a leader at a home, as a family, as a husband, as a parent, so everybody is a leader somewhere, right?
Yeah, and your
So
son told you you were failing at leadership
that's
as a
exactly right.
dad.
That's
Yeah.
exactly. That was a big wake up call.
Yeah.
So I sought some mentor because at that time, this was over 15 years ago. Yeah, about 15, 20 years or 15 to 17 years ago. I just did not have enough understanding of the business model and the business savvy to address some of the flawed, profitability really of the mix. So I found a mentor that really came along, helped me kind of establish, well, here's some principles, right? So here's some success principles proven over decades, proven over time. And so he kind of helped me along the way, right? So I took those success principles. Again, we got myself in better balance as a leader. And as I got myself in better balance as a
And
leader,
yeah, and how did you do that?
great. So I did write Sustained Business Growth. And in that book, I talk about 7 powerful principles and the 7 M's for maximum impact. And so out of the decades of going through different facilities and different industries, I found these 7 M's. A few of those starts with mindset, right? So really, what's my mindset? What's my self-talk? How am I managing my energy? What drains me, what sustains me, and really those 7 M's. Thinking about motivational resources. So what keeps me excited and inspired? So the better I lead myself, the better I can lead others, right? So I think it's just really key to figure out what helps us keep ourselves at maximum impact, right? So thinking about peak performance. And so I found those, couple motivational sources. That could be people, that could be podcasts, it could be, any type of music or something of that nature that gives you a group, a small group community that provides energy to keep us up. So I think that with that, and then the mentor, and then thinking about mastery. So where are my strengths? So a lot of times I was trying to do too much, right? So trying to do everything, jumping in every place,
Right.
and that's just not a good leader, right? So that's not a good leader. That's not an effective leader, right? So we have to figure out leveraging our team strengths, right? So
Right.
so and who's that was a big thing for me, or a big thing that I learned is finding out who should do that task, not understanding what needs to be done, but who should do that. So
Are you talking about delegation?
yes, yes, yeah. Who's the right person to delegate that to? What's their strength and their
Right.
competency? And so that definitely helped me get in better balance.
Well,
Yeah.
all those things that you talked about, and what was the name of the book?
Sustained business growth.
Sustained Business Growth. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All
Right
right.
there. So
Yeah, because and what that title tells me is that life is a marathon, it's not a sprint.
that's
And
exactly right. Yeah.
if you keep trying to live your life as a sprint, you're going to roll over and die one day. But
Yeah.
well, maybe not. There's lots of people who sprint every day. But anyway, you want to
Yeah.
manage your energy, and all the things that you talked about are pretty deep stuff.
Yeah.
What are your strengths?
Yeah.
You'd mentioned a number of other things. One of the things, what gives you energy? What motivates you?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know, and I don't think a lot of people ask those kinds of questions of themselves. What gives
No.
me energy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What takes my energy?
Yes.
Things like that. I do want to say one thing, and this is a little bit of a commercial on this podcast. Um, I did this. I launched this podcast because my daughter basically said, "Dad, people need to hear from you as a mentor."
Mm.
And I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "You've given us and our friends so much great advice. The world needs to hear from you." So I just want to let the audience know that right now, we're dealing with leadership, we're dealing with life, and he's mentoring you right now, right? And so this is where you can learn, and I am listening to Shawn as he speaks, and I'm going, you know what? You and I are really aligned. At some point in time, we're going to disagree, and I'm going to say something. But
Okay.
I'll tell you, just looking at your energy right now, because full disclosure, folks, this is the first time Shawn and I have met. And I'm looking at his energy. He's got really great energy. He's relaxed. He's happy. He's got a great smile. And just his body language will tell you a lot. You know, the old saying, your actions are speaking so loudly I can't hear a word you're saying,
Mm.
right? Body language has a lot to do with it. So really do think about some of the things that we talk about, because any one of the things that Shawn just said of his 7 M's can kind of change your life. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. That's great. That's exactly what I hope to do. That's my mission, is to help leaders, entrepreneurs, people anywhere, right, achieve their success, whatever that might mean to them, without sacrificing their health, their family, and others that matter most. So that's
Yep.
one of those tidbits hopefully changes somebody's life.
Well,
Yeah.
the irony of that is that that's the reason why we're doing all these things. It's for our family, it's for the love in our lives,
Yeah.
it's for all these things. And then all of a sudden, the reason why we're doing all this stuff walks up to you and says, "Dad, where do you live?"
Where do you
And
live?
you're just like,
Yeah.
"Wait, what?" And there's
Yeah.
just a short circuit in your head that kind of goes, and you just go, what just happened?" You know?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I think that, there's another one,
Yeah.
know why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
don't,
Your purpose, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
you know. All right.
Wow, we could go, yeah, we could go definitely another hour for purpose, right? But I think it is, tapping, and you kind of mentioned this at the beginning too, the mind and the heart. So what stirs the emotion? What's the heart? And what taps into the mind and the heart, right? And so yeah, so some people it's different, right? Some people it's money, some people it's titles, some people it's contribution and impact, right? So
Absolutely.
just yeah, so just really understanding that big why.
Yeah. And that applies at home with your wife or with your husband, with your kids, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your subordinates, with your lead, that applies to everybody,
It
right?
does.
And that
Yeah.
was my point in the introduction is that, when people think about leadership, and we are talking about, corporate leadership and high pressure jobs and things like that, but it involves everything. It
Yeah.
involves everybody. And
Yeah.
so this is a really, really cool conversation. And I had another guest who came in, and one of the things that she left with me is leave some gas in the gas tank for the people you care about at the end of the day.
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah.
She says, we work so hard, and by the end of the day, we have spent everything and we
Yeah.
don't have anything left for the people in our lives that we're doing all this for.
Yeah. That's
And
good.
so, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we could talk about purpose and all that, and I'd be all over it. But
Yeah.
anyway, okay. So,
All day.
so, so, uh, so, what did that whole experience lead you to? Because you said that experience was 15 years ago.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
how did that experience and the realization of the things that you just talked about kind of change your life
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
over the last 13 or 15 years?
So I was on a path that just sent me on a trajectory, a path to
Yeah,
really go find people that had the same issue I did, right? So they were in the midst of the battle, the trenches, and trying to turn things around. And whether that's an entrepreneur, whether that's a father and mother, whether that's a business leader, whatever. But it's really trying to help them figure out how do you win, how do you lead yourself well, how do you lead your team well, and then you can make a bigger impact to the business and the community. So I wrote the book based on the principles that I learned, right? So I went through all those industries and different facilities, again, over 60 plus facilities, and understood what worked, what did, and what were those common principles. And then how do you achieve, how can that be replicated? And so I feel like the sustained business growth is a playbook, really, a turnaround playbook, professionally, but personally as well. And so I took that and have proven those. Went to a facility. This was what, maybe 2 years ago. Went to a leader. He was in the midst of had a big issue. They were not producing enough. These were large structures, and he just said, "Shawn, I've got to figure out a better way because my people or my team is working 7 days a week. They're burnout. It's not sustainable, right? So we're getting all this great demand and volume, but it's not. We can't keep it up. They're burning out. There's people that are going to turn, a lot of turnover and that kind of thing. And he himself was working 70, 80 hours, right? So I said, perfect. Let me work with you. Let me help you. So we went in and did a lot of those same, implementing those same principles. They were able to increase their throughput within like 2 months. And these are large structures, right? So I can't really go into depth of the industry, but it's very large structures. They reduced their cycle time by over 50% and started meeting their customer demand. And their frontline leader came to me and said, "Hey, look, we've even beat that even further, right? So we've reduced that by even 50%, right?" So they were just cranking out the product, significantly more than they had in the past,
So
right?
all of these metrics that you just talked about
Yeah,
happened as a result of you being there?
with the team. Yeah, so I gave
You and
them
your team.
guidance,
Yeah.
I gave them principles and tools and
Uh-huh.
systems. They took it and they ran it with it, right? And so
Okay.
that was the key part is the leader really embraced it and worked with his team to, and I supported him, right? Came in
Sure.
and but they did an awesome job, right? And the people actually were able to back off. They produced more in a lot less time, so they were able to get better balance at
So
that point.
what were some of the principles that they implemented?
Yeah, so one of the main ones, I talked about peak state of mind and purpose, so that from a leadership standpoint. But it was really focus and alignment, right? So there's some tools that I talk about strategy deployment. It's just what's that one key metric? What's that, 1 to 3 key metrics? What are the things that drive that metric? And then how do we improve that metric immediately? Today, not tomorrow. TNT, right? So it's just really what can I really create that focus that everybody is aligned around to go after and commit and focus and move that needle.
And it
So
all
that's
started with purpose.
it did.
It all starts with purpose. And I
Yes.
think that's if there's one thing that 90% of people miss out there is starting with purpose,
Yes.
right? We start on okay, we start on product.
Yeah.
Don't start on product. Start on why the hell are you here? Right?
Yes.
I mean, why are
Yes.
we doing what we're doing? And then what you
Yes.
then talked about was you establish your purpose, you identify your purpose, then you align yourself to that purpose,
That's right. That's
right?
right.
And
Yeah.
that alignment involves the focus, and then the metrics follow that.
There you go.
You know, it's a lot of the world is upside down. What do we need our metrics to be? Okay, so then let's no, flip it upside down, right? And and I love that. And the results of that experience that you had showed, right?
It sure did. Yeah, it sure did. They turned around. It definitely had better. They met their customer demand. They outpaced their supply chain, so they had to kind of readjust and get some other folks online. But better balance too. So the leader was able to create some better balance for him and his team, so it's sustainable. And
Boy,
so
it's sure better to have the supply chain keep up with you than have finding yourself not being able to keep up with the supply chain,
this is true.
right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And the other thing I'll say real quick
Yeah.
is that, we're talking about business, but that whole purpose thing also applies at home.
Yes.
It applies with the most important people and relationships you have in your life. And figuring out, okay, what's my purpose? Why are we here? Why am I in this house? Why was I chosen to be to the parents of the kids and the grandparents to my grandpa to my grandkids? Um, Start with purpose.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
love Simon Sinek.
Yes.
Just start with why.
Yes.
I think you and I are kind of taking a different perspective. Start with and maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe what and that's part of it.
That's
But
yep.
I think I think you and I are taking it at another level in terms of the why is your purpose. So start there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm getting all
No, it's good.
philosophical. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, and one of the principles I talk about is like the second. I talk, first one's mindset, second one's, constancy of purpose. And I talk about the big why, right? What really is your big why? And I think you have to go deep to really understand that. It's not just a
Yeah.
surface level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I keep circling back around back to the family. And yeah, because again, that's why we're doing what we do.
yeah,
I mean, you go, well, I need to make money. Why? Well, distill it down to its core, and it's to live, to give yourself and your family a nice life.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Now, I want to ask you a question that might be a little. Before I do that, You talked about how it changed your life over the last 13 to 15 years at work. How did it
Yeah.
change your life at home?
Oh, that's great question. Another great question. So I feel like my wife and I have a lot better marriage. Again, another tool that I talk about in the book is a perfect day routine, right? So again, it's just what's my perfect day look like, and how do I strive to get there? And part of that is, am I spending enough time with the people that matter most, right? So I think that's the really
Love
kind of
it.
a self awareness, a gut check of how much time did I really spend with those that matter most, right? So my wife, my kids, my son, how do we enjoy, just play golf together, or go do
Yeah.
extracurricular activities, or just whatever they like to do, right? So it's not necessarily what I want to do, but what do they like to do? So yeah.
And to make sure that your son never asks that question again of, Dad, where do you live? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Has he asked that question ever since then?
So he's getting a big kick out of this, because I've kind of used that as the hook in many of my conversations, because
Hmm.
that really is the gut check from the heart, right, in the head. But yes, he definitely, has definitely seen a big difference. And again, I think it's just, what do you see as right look like for you and your perfect day? How do you
Yeah.
line that up to what matters most,
And
and
go
hold yourself
do it.
accountable to it?
Yeah.
What?
And go do it.
Right.
Go do it.
Yeah.
It's and yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And the fact that
Yeah.
your son sees the difference, that's a proof in the pudding, right?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
when the people around you and the people who you love and love you
Yes.
see the impact of what's going on. So one of the things that is happening today, as you know, is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And there's a lot of stress out there. It's
Yeah.
very exciting. It's unbelievably exciting, right?
Yes.
Like I said, I've been in technology for 4 decades. I started in technology with punch cards,
Yes. Okay.
computers.
Okay.
That was a long, long time ago.
That
And
was.
now here we are with artificial intelligence, which is just mind-boggling to me that we've gotten to this point.
Yes.
And so, as exciting as it is, there's also the flip side of fear
Yeah.
and concern. And one of the things is, what's my future? What's my future going to hold? And the old saying, AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows AI is going to take your job.
Mhm.
There's also some folks out there who are saying that AI is going to take over everything. Um, you are a relationship person,
Mhm.
clearly, right? You get out there, you talk to people. My One of the things I think about is what are the things that AI will never replace, can never replace, because it can
Mhm.
replace a whole lot of stuff. But the thing that I've come down to is that AI will never replace our humanity. It will
Mm.
never replace human to human connection. And in that vein, I'm actually writing another book. And the book is about sales because I've been in sales my whole life, but it's all about um, achieving big sales in the era of AI. That's not
Mhm.
necessarily the title. There's a lot of sales books out there about how to use AI, but my thesis is don't forget your humanity.
Yes.
That is the special sauce. That is going to be the key to your success in the future, to all of our futures, is understanding that humanity. Um, And so, I talk to some people, and some people are concerned that AI is going to take over customer. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things about every role out there that AI can replace. But how do you feel, with your experience of having gone out there and turned things around and talked to people, is that a replaceable skill?
Hmm. Yeah, um I think there's parts of it, but not all of it, right? I do think, and just as a disclaimer, and as aware, I actually have done quite a bit of exploration with AI and actually learned how to create chatbots and pull data and understand that data and what's it telling me, right? So use the machine learning and deep learning and that kind of thing. So I've learned a lot about that, and I do think it can actually help us be productive. But
Oh,
there's
no
parts,
doubt.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can definitely help us be productive. But there's parts of the human emotional intelligence that I don't think it's going to replace. I think it can help us, but just that, to your point, right? The human to human connection. You can create some types of connection in the service. If somebody is wanting an answer quick and that type of thing, just some standard answers or support,
Right.
you can definitely do that to better service the customer. But there's always going to be a human there somewhere that's got to make some of those final connections. So yeah,
Right. Right. You mentioned chatbots.
yeah,
I remember the days not too long ago when before AI, but it was machine learning,
yeah,
and we launched chatbots.
yeah.
And the most frustrating thing I can think of at this very moment is chatbots. Right? I mean, at first we thought it was really cool, and it
Yeah,
was because use technology. But now it's it's amazing to me because getting a chatbot has become the expectation,
yeah,
my
yeah.
expectation. Another phrase: today's luxury is tomorrow's expectation.
Mm,
Right? Yesterday's luxury is today's expectation.
mm.
And I'll tell you something. It was just 2 weeks ago that I picked up the phone expecting a chatbot, and a live person answered the freaking phone.
Wow.
And it just left such an indelible impression on me that
Yeah,
I went, okay,
yeah,
got it.
yeah,
Check these guys off as the people I want to work with.
yeah.
And
That's good.
and and so I feel like the pendulum has gone so far to the side of the brain
Too far. Yeah,
and every pendulum has its place of equilibrium.
yeah.
I just believe that pendulum is going to start swinging back. We're going to have a renaissance of heart,
Mm.
and we're going to find a new equilibrium in this new world of artificial intelligence. And you're
Yes.
hearing it. You're hearing from Elon Musk about robots,
Yeah.
and they've got the robots. They're already building the robots.
Yes.
And so it's going to be an amazing, amazing world. But what you and I are talking about is working with heart
Yes.
and
Yeah.
working with our humanity,
Yeah.
which I
That'll
love.
be, yeah, that'll be the differentiator in this age, right? Is those that can really, connect with the people's heart, mind,
Connection.
and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you still do that d today? Is that connection part of it still part of a big part of what you do?
Oh, you bet. You bet. That's to me, that's so I love to learn more about personalities and how to, just to connect with different personalities. And I think the better we understand that, the better we can, help them be successful, but ourselves as well. As Zig Ziglar once said many, many years ago, you said you were in sales, right? So Zig
Yep.
Ziglar was a big the more people we help become successful, the more successful we become, right? So I think that's, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. That's probably my favorite quote from
yeah,
Zig Ziglar. And for
yeah,
those of you who don't know who Zig Ziglar is, he longtime sales guru.
yeah,
His last name is Ziglar, Zig Ziglar. Go to Amazon, just pick up any Zig Ziglar book.
yeah,
And not just if you're in sales, um,
yeah.
about life.
Everything.
Right?
Yeah,
It's amazing. He
yeah,
was an amazing, amazing guy. And it's true. You help enough people, you're going to help yourself.
yeah,
The more people that you help to be successful, the more successful you're going to be.
yeah.
And so yeah, so going back to your life and your focus, uh, I can tell that well, you wrote a book about it, that you believe in the principles.
Oh, yeah.
And you also said something that you enjoy learning about different personalities.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
My my hope for my audience is that we all do the same thing, is that we learn people, we study people, because that's what makes the world go around, right? And studying people, learning how to connect with people better, right? We all know how to connect with people, but how to communicate. The world has gone so far off the rails in a lot of different ways,
Yes.
especially in the world of connecting with people, because we now have our smartphones, we now have social media. Some of the stuff is great, some of the stuff has been built with really unintended whatever they call it, unintended circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, don't pick up the damn phone.
I love that. Yeah.
Right? And you know what? I'll call people, Sean, and I'll say, "Hey, Sean, it's John." And you'll go, "Hey, John, how's it going?" And I'll go, "Holy cow, this thing works." And you'll say, "What do you mean it works?" I said, "You know, I'm actually talking to you.
Yeah.
This telephone thing actually works." You
Yeah.
know? And we'll have a laugh about it, but pick up the phone and talk to people. Get on a plane, talk to people, create that relationship, create that connection. And you and I are just so aligned, right,
Yeah.
with how we perceive things. And it just makes life more fun, doesn't it?
It does. It does. So I do have to tell a quick funny story, as you're talking about pick up the damn phone, right? So there was a leader in a office, and about maybe 20 feet away, an employee texted him. So just said, "Hey, is this a good idea, or this, something?" He got up out of his chair. he said, he said, "Why don't you just walk into my office? It's only
It's just
20
crazy, isn't
feet
it?
away, and ask the question," right? So, yeah.
And the answer was probably, wait, you want me to get out of my chair? It's like, are you kidding me? We're aging ourselves. You know this,
Yes,
right? I mean,
you're right.
a lot of
You're
young
right.
people are going, wait, what do you mean walk
Yeah.
20 feet? Why would I want to walk 20 feet?
Yeah.
Folks, get up out of the chair. I was going to say something else,
Yeah.
but walk and have a conversation. And you know what? The thing that's funny about connection is that it's really scary. It's really scary. And especially if you're in customer service, or we've all experienced the, hey, as long as I got you on the phone, as long as you're here with me, I got something I want to tell you, right? Or it's the rejection factor,
Mm,
right? I mean, we've all stared at the phone, at least you and I have. I don't know about young people, but we've all stared at the phone, wanting the phone to ring of the girl who I asked out on a date, or looking at the phone going, I gotta pick up the phone. I just gotta
yeah.
pick up the phone. And that phone looks like freaking evil incarnate. It's like the most
The
fearful
fear
thing
of
in my
it.
life, right?
Yeah.
And so, when you and I say pick up the damn phone, I get it. I mean, I understand, a lot of the emotions around that, and especially if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
But the thing I tell folks is that the more you get used to it, the stronger that muscle gets.
Yes.
And if
Yeah.
you don't use that muscle, the muscle's never going to be there. But I will say that is a muscle that will stay true to you
Yeah.
um, forever. Forever. Technology comes, technology goes.
True.
It's the picking up the phone. It's the getting on the airplane. It's having a conversation saying, how can I help you? How can we make things better? Right? Give to receive.
Yeah.
And you know what? You got two ears and one mouth. Live your life that way.
That's good. That's
Right?
that's
And
good.
so this, yeah. So we've talked about a lot of things.
We
And
have.
yeah. So um, all right. What do you want to close with? What do you want to close with? Close with something amazing.
Yeah. So, hey, this is great. It is really good. I guess just really make sure that what are you telling yourself, right? If you don't tell yourself that you can win, you're never going to win, right? So I think it's just that peak state of mind, constancy of purpose and connection. So I love the fact of the emphasis here is the connection piece of it. it's something bigger than ourselves, right? It's not all about me, right? It's not all about one of us. It's how do we make an impact out there, give back to many other people, and make a bigger impact versus just ourselves. So I think that's that, digging deep enough for that constancy of purpose, and just really take action today. What can we do today? So and just how do I balance lead myself well, whether it's at a perfect day routine, or how do I help others, start to lead better, to a higher level as well. So the focus and alignment.
That's
So
amazing.
that's the main things. I do offer some free resources on www.sustainedbusinessgrowth.com to help with some of those principles.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Shawn, I invite you to send me a information sheet about yourself and about some of the things that we talked about, and I'll post it on johnsuzuki.com in my resources section. Okay, so
Excellent.
people,
Sure will.
folks, if you guys want information about Shawn and what he does and about what we've talked about today, go to the resources page, johnsuzuki.com. Okay, and you'll be able to get some more information about him. You talked about start today. Okay.
Yes.
At the same time, we talked about a lot of deep things. Folks, life doesn't happen in giant leaps. It happens in itty bitty steps. So, in terms of taking action today, here's something you can do. Call somebody.
Mm.
Call somebody. Pick up the damn phone. I don't even, I leave my phone in the other room because I don't want that stupid thing to go off. But they call it an iPhone.
There you
They call it,
go.
there you go. They call that thing a smartphone.
Yeah.
But the phone function on that damn device isn't even in the top 10 uses of a smartphone, right? We use it for everything else. We very seldom use it for a phone call. Pick up your smartphone, dial a number, and ask yourself, when's the last time you did that? Dial a number on purpose and call somebody, call a friend, call your mom. You know what? I'll bet you they're going to go, is everything okay? Are you okay? Why are you calling me? And you just say, dude, or dudette, I just wanted to call to say hi and I love you. You're my friend. I appreciate you. Or something else. Just take that one action. And then try calling somebody every day. I know it's a big deal. I know it's a lot. But you know what? The more you do it, the stronger that muscle's going to get. And you can start with friendlies. Start with
Mm.
friendlies. Okay? So with that, Shawn, this has been so much fun. We've talked about so much stuff, but I really love, this whole podcast really is about humanity. It
Yeah.
really is about giving back. It really is about helping people live better lives because I believe, and I know you do too, that when you lift a person, you lift the world.
Yeah.
And that's what we do, folks, right? So share this and practice some of the try it. And Shawn, show your book again.
Yeah. It's sustained
Sustained
business
business
growth.
growth.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. So with that, Shawn, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining me. All of
Absolute
you out
pleasure.
there, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Here's to just finding better and keep going. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye.